first, in a crowded island like Britain, it's no surprise that we have some of the tightest and most stringent planning regulations in the world. That's to ensure what development there is necessary, harmonious and appropriate.
Which is why the residents of one Greater Manchester suburb have been left gobsmacked at what's been allowed to be built just yards from the end of their back gardens. Peaceful, leafy and family-friendly. The Henfold Estate in Wigan ticks all the boxes for its loyal residents.
People don't tend to buy and move. Once they get here, they love it and they stay.
What attracted us to the area was how quiet it was, our great views at the back.
But that sense of contentment has been obliterated by this.
It is like having a thundercloud behind your house 24 hours a day.
I'm opening my curtains every morning, it's the first thing that I see. I'm closing them at night and it's the last thing that I see. It really affected me emotionally and mentally.
I love my home, love the area, lots of memories, but now it's just taken that away completely.
This is Astley Business Park, where warehouses totalling more than 350,000 square feet are taking shape. The site was previously open fields, as this satellite image shows. And in the decades since many of the neighbouring houses were built, residents always knew something was destined for this spot. John Peters bought his house here in 1990.
We always knew there was going to be some kind of development onto the field. Prior to that, 3 housing estates had gone up on the local farm.
And in 2012, Wigan Council granted planning permission for this business park.
There was an application that proposed like low-level warehousing, nature walks, kiddies' playgrounds and so on.
But development never began. The planning permission lapsed and the fields remained. Fast forward to 2023 and developer PLP submitted plans for a very different scheme. 4 18-metre-tall warehouses. The biggest would be larger than 2 football pitches. But the residents say they were not properly consulted before the development got the go-ahead.
There was a pre-application consultation made, which was a leaflet drop. Now, I'm 100 yards away from the development and I got no information about that. The first time that I realised that something real was happening here was when the fences went up on the field. They moved in the diggers, they started levelling the ground, and unfortunately, this was the start of a really, really big development that was to affect our lives.
But it wasn't until summer 2025, when the warehouses started being built, that the true scale became clear.
We all just shouted, wow, because we saw the structure of the warehouse. It's just huge.
This is Paula Boardman and her garden.
When you look at the pictures or you see anything about the warehouses, it doesn't really give it justice until you've actually seen it. I mean, looking at it, it's just huge. You have to really look up to see the size and the height of it. I'm all for progress, but it's just affecting everybody within the community. You know, it's taken our sunlight, it's taken our skyline. There's just no need to have them that big.
The warehouse behind Paula's garden has been leased to logistics company Whistle, which was granted permission to operate around the clock from May 2026. But even before it started, the residents say late-night disruption is too much to bear.
It makes me feel like these should never have been next to houses, because this is where people live. This is where you bring up your children in a safe environment. It's not an industrial estate where you can mix noise, pollution, light and everything else with family life. So something desperately has gone wrong here.
Determined to make the community's voice heard, Paula and John are among hundreds of residents who've joined a campaign against the development.
We started to think about we need to work together and form an action group.
Paul Buller is also a leading figure in the campaign, which argues that the developer and the council didn't do enough to understand the impact on the community.
We're seeing people's properties plummeting in value and some are wholly unsaleable. We're seeing real mental health impacts, and we can't underplay that enough. We think that planning should be sensible, it should be proportionate, and really we just appeal to the council and the planners to show some common sense when they make these decisions, instead of disregarding the community concerns and ploughing ahead without much regard to the impacts, which, as you can see, is devastating.
Following the complaints from residents, Wigan Council commissioned a company called POS Enterprises to carry out an independent audit of the planning process. And in January 2026, the audit concluded that residents weren't given enough opportunity to respond, calling the developer's own consultation with residents wholly inadequate. In response, the council pledged to reflect on the report's findings and make any necessary adjustments to its procedures. But with construction ongoing, in some homes, including Paula's, the impact of the site is becoming apparent in even more daunting ways.
So the biggest issue for me is the big cracks in the floor and the drop in the floor and the big crack at the side of the house. It's difficult to prove that obviously this has happened through the construction, but we've been here 18 years and nothing at all has happened to the property. And then since obviously the construction, we've had lots of structural issues.
Some residents have also reported unprecedented flooding in their gardens, thanks to what they say is a lack of effective drainage on the warehouse site, compared with the fields that were there before.
This is our home and all the plants are damaged, the grass is completely ruined, it's just now mud. It's just utterly devastating. We've put a lot of time and money into the house, a lot of love into the house, and we're just stuck with these structural issues. The biggest outcome for me would be to have it taken down, some type of compensation to help with the damage which has been done to the house, because it's going to cost us a lot of money to get that where it was before.
Meanwhile, the campaigners have been galvanised by the damning independent audit into the decision-making process and have been fundraising to pay for legal advice and independent expert reports.
And there is a deep, deep sense of anger in the community that really we've been thrown under the bus for the sake of developers, for the sake of profits, and little regard for us.
We feel so passionate about what's happened to us, and we feel so strongly that we need to get the truth.
Oh my goodness, how I sympathise with those people. Well, Astley resident John Peters, who is one of the leaders of the Action Group, who we saw in that film, joins us in the studio now. John, fantastic that you're here. And we're also joined by solicitor Gary Rycroft. John, it's been quite a few weeks since we came to film with you. What's been happening since then?
Yeah, we're starting to prepare ourselves for when the company actually moves into the warehouse and takes up residence. So we're looking at sort of noise pollution, light pollution, 24/7 working. They recently did a light test for the first time.
Yeah, I think we've got a slide of that actually, just here to, yes.
Yeah, for the first time, the residents became aware of just what the place looks like. To us, it's one of the residents described it as the entrance to Manchester Airport.
Yeah.
And if you think about like at least 200 houses surrounding that with kids inside and trying to get to sleep at night.
And that's the lighting that'll be on all night long kind of thing, is it?
Yeah, I presume so, yeah, because the traffic will be coming 24/7.
Well, Gary, I mean, this is a very harsh story, and there are sites like this all over the country. I bet there are people watching who are identifying strongly with what John's been saying. What rights do residents have when things like this happen?
Well, obviously there are different views about development, but certainly it's government policy. It's been the policy of past and the present government to build, because we need houses, we need infrastructure, we need jobs. But as John is demonstrating, people want to be involved in that conversation. They want openness and transparency. Councils are meant to notify local residents about what's happening, but as we've seen in John's case, that doesn't always happen. And that's something that you should concentrate on in terms of speaking out about the lack of notice and the lack of opportunity that you've been given to comment on it and to protest. Because as you say, once you did know what was going on, you've come together and coalesced in a really fantastic way. Putting my lawyer's head back on again, I'd be looking at those material planning considerations and the issues you've just highlighted about the way the land is being used in terms of the 24/7, the 365 days a year. That is very intense, and I would call it overbearing.
When we spoke to Wigan Council, it told us that it has and will continue to work closely with residents to minimise the impact of the development, and reiterated that the land was earmarked for development 20 years ago. Wigan Council said the consultation process included site notices, a newspaper advertisement, and letters to 99 nearby properties, and that residents had the opportunity to voice their concerns. And it added that the independent audit of the development found Wigan Council acted fully in accordance with national planning legislation and guidance. The council pointed out that the developer's pre-application consultation, which was described as inadequate by auditors, was not legally required under planning law. It said that once planning permission is granted, challenges must be made in a set timeframe, and that once construction has started, the council's powers are limited unless there is a proven breach of planning control. Where concerns have been raised about the impact of construction, such as noise, floodlighting and localised flooding, the council said it's been monitoring and acting where necessary. But it added that it cannot legally consider matters such as property value, structural damage or liability due to the prescriptive nature of the planning system.
Well, Gary, what would be your tips for people who perhaps are wondering what on earth is going to happen to the land around their property? What should they do?
You can go on the local planning portal. So the local planning portal, run by the local planning authority, is public access, it's free, you can log in, you can put a postcode in, you can see the planning applications that are going on for your particular area. You can sign up for alerts as well in case a new planning application is made without you realising it. So that's really useful to keep tabs on what's going on. I think community groups are also fantastically important because they're the eyes and ears, aren't they? And that's either meeting in person like you do in the pub or meeting online. It's just the community coming together and keeping an eye on what's happening locally.
And John, I mean, I know all this, a lot of that is too late in a way. What is your ultimate hope and aim for the situation you're in?
Well, we want some in-depth dive into why this planning decision came about, and we want to see a reduction possibly in the 24/7 working. We've got to think about the light and air pollution and the noise as well. So there's lots for us still to go at, and we're in this for the long haul.
Yes. Good luck with that, John. Gary, thanks very much for your advice.
When we spoke to PLP, the developer of the Astley site, it told us it takes the local concern around the development very seriously, adding that it worked with the council and partners to minimise the impact during the development process and pledged to ensure it is a well-managed site and disruption to residents is kept to a minimum. PLP also told us the pre-development approach to public engagement was agreed in advance with the council, that PLP was open to feedback and met with local councillors to discuss the proposals in detail. PLP added that the development represents a significant investment in the local economy, which will create jobs and training opportunities. And it stressed the site includes 10 acres of landscaping and ecology improvements, new footpaths and landscape bunding along boundaries next to homes. Meanwhile, Whistle told us it committed to its lease after the planning process had concluded and construction began, adding that it has been in constructive dialogue with the Residents' Association and shared detailed information about measures it will take to operate responsibly. Whistle said it appreciates the strength of feeling amongst the community, but reassured residents it'll do everything it can to be a good neighbour.